Hi everybody, this is Mike Lynch from Channel 5. I'm here at Fenway Park, and I always run into Carl Pratt when I'm down here or at the Garden or at Gillette or at some high school game, and I just want to send out my best wishes to Carl. 25 years as host of the Video Sports Page and counting. Here's to 25 more, Carl. Congratulations. Keep it going.
One. Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Video Sports Page. I'm your host, Carl Pratt. Welcome to edition number 1202. During this week's edition of our program, I'll update you on some successful starts to the 2014 season for several area high school teams and some outstanding athletes, including a young lady from Silver Lake who has 27 innings in a row of no-hit pitching for the Silver Lake softball program. Also, during this week's edition of our show, I'll replay an interview I had with Dennis Eckersley on opening day at Fenway Park. 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Video Sports Page. I'm your host, Carl Pratt. Welcome to edition number 1202. During this week's edition of our program, I'll update you on some successful starts to the 2014 season for several high school teams in our viewing area. And we'll talk more specifically about an outstanding pitcher for the Silver Lake girls softball program who, going into yesterday's action, meaning Wednesday, this young lady had 27 innings in a row of no-hit pitching. We'll also replay a couple of interviews I had not too long ago during opening day at Fenway Park. I spent some time with Dennis Eckersley. I'll share that interview with him. He, of course, was at the highest of highs and the lowest of lows during his outstanding Major League career. And the Boston Bruins begin the postseason on Friday by hosting the Detroit Red Wings. Not too long ago at the Garden, I spent some time with Don Sweeney, who had an outstanding career with the Boston Bruins. Now he's part of the front office. And before we say goodnight tonight, we may have time to replay an interview with Wyc Grousbeck. He's the lead owner for the Boston Celtics. But let's quickly talk about the Silver Lake boys varsity baseball team, which has back-to-back league championships under its belt. And on Wednesday, the Silver Lake baseball team took on Middleborough, and the Lakers dominated that game by a count of 9-1. Sophomore pitcher Anthony Vedetto had 11 strikeouts in that performance. That's just part of what went on this week for Silver Lake. They had a super come-from-behind victory against Whitman-Hanson, trailing by as much as 6 runs in that ballgame. Well, earlier this week, when it was raining outside, I went inside with the camera and caught up with 8th-year coach Kenny Tachi, and we talked about this season. Okay, let's continue with this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. We're taping this interview on a Tuesday afternoon, raining outside, but it doesn't stop the Silver Lake program under the direction of my guest, head coach Kenny Tachi, now in its 8th season. You're getting a workout in regardless.
Hey, got to do it, rain or shine, somebody's going to be working harder than you. So
let's talk about it. The hard work has paid off. The last 2 seasons, you've been the Patriot League champion, and that's a nice theme.
Oh, absolutely. That hasn't happened since 60 years or something like that, and back-to-back champions. A lot of returning players who were able to experience both championships, and but for the most part, when you think about last year and the team before that, there was only a handful of kids that were on that team. So it was really 2 different teams that won the league, and it was quite an accomplishment.
Well, let's talk about it. You're off to a good start again this year, 5-1.
Yep, 5-1. We beat Hingham 2-1, which was always a feather in anybody's hat. They're the defending state champions, and we had a kind of a tough one against Duxbury, but they're another good program in the league. And if you don't bring your A game in this league, you're not going to win. And we came back yesterday with a real good win against Whitman-Hanson, another league win, and no rest for the weary. We got Middleborough tomorrow. It was Division III champions. So. And
obviously, we're taping this on a Tuesday, so he means Wednesday. He's got Middleborough. If you watch our show on a Thursday night, we won't have the update this week, but you take on Plymouth North on Thursday, and then you face them again in the Brad Martin tournament.
Absolutely. Since I've been here, it's always we're trying to raise the bar, and there's no better program around than Plymouth North, and in that tournament is Bridgewater Random and New Bedford, and once we get out of that tournament, we get Xaverian on Saturday. So if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Yeah, but let's talk about it. A lot of things have come together for you since you've put your autograph on this or your signature on this program.
A lot of things have gone right, but it's systemic. It really is. I mean, the kids have bought in. They want to be good. They really want to work hard. They're hard-working kids, and I can say and preach all I want, but they have to execute it. I can put the kids in a position to succeed, but most of the credit should go to them.
Well, let's back up the clock to that most recent victory against Whitman Hanson. You were down by a bunch, but you rallied late to post a victory. What's that say about the character of these kids to say, hey, we still got one more at bat?
Well, honestly, the character of this team is second to none. I don't think I've ever been around a team that in the last couple of years, the chemistry is fantastic. And we're never out of a game, okay? Because they refuse to lose. And I know it sounds cliche, but they refuse to lose. We were down 6-0. You could just see the resolve in their face, saying we'll eventually get back in this game, and they did. I mean, that's a great thing about that. And the way that we came back and won the game was phenomenal. It was a team effort. It says a lot about this team.
Give me a quick scouting report, if you can, on this year's edition of the Lakers. The strength and the holes you had to fill to be good.
Well, anytime, let's start with the holes. Anytime you lose what we lost last year, Mike London, Tucker Bouchard, and Sam Ballerine, that's tough. Maybe by the two of the 5 best pitchers in Eastern Mass last year, and maybe one of the better catchers in the state. That's tough to replace. But we've got a lot of young guys who I think can step up on the mound. It's inexperienced on the mound, but talented. And I like to say athletes don't have age, they have ability. They're pretty good. The catchers, they've stepped up. They've been in the program the last couple of years. They're both seniors. They were just behind a real good catcher. So, I mean, they knew the system. They really haven't missed a beat on that.
Well, let's talk if we can. Let's get away from baseball for a moment, but let's stay around the diamond. And you've got a record of 4-1 right now, 5-1 as we tape this interview, and you almost have to take a back seat to the outstanding softball program where they've outscored the opposition 96-0. You got Matty Barone with, I think, 4 or 5 no-hitters.
Well,
in a row.
I tip my hat to her. It just goes to show you what a great school this is, and it really is a great athletic department. It's run by a great athletic director. The principal took over from Rich Kelly and James Mulcahy, and they've done a really good job just keeping it in support with us. But I'm glad they're having a good start, but I'm a little more worried about what we're doing. So.
There you go. Well, listen, we appreciate you spending some time with us. As always, we wish you good luck, and we'll get out here with the camera once the rain stops.
All right, my friend. Good to see you.
All right, Kenny Tocci, the veteran coach of Silver Lake, now in his 8th season. His club 5-1 as we tape this interview. As soon as I get this in the can, I'll update you and find out if they're going to be 5-2 or 6-1 following their matchup with Middleborough on Wednesday. And we'll continue with more of this week's edition of our program, so stay with us. Well, on Thursday afternoon, head coach Kenny Tocci's team was scheduled to play host to the Plymouth North Eagles. That should be an outstanding matchup, scheduled to start at 4 o'clock. Not sure if we've got time to get some highlights, get back here, obviously edit it, and get it to the cable studio for viewing on Thursday night. But we might just have some highlights before we close our show. Meanwhile, next Tuesday, as part of the Brad Martin Memorial Tournament in Plymouth, the Eagles will host Silver Lake starting at 2 o'clock. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, starting at 11 in the morning, Bridgewater Raynham, which has an outstanding baseball team as well, will take on New Bedford, who is also having a fine spring here in 2014. Well, let's take this opportunity, if we can, to replay the interview I had with the Eck, Dennis Eckersley. And we touched on a number of different things, his personal life, his professional life as a ball player, as well as being a broadcaster.
Yeah, but opening day here is special in Boston. I know baseball, all over baseball, but, I've been here for about 35 years. And so I know how different it is here than everywhere else. And it's, and that's why having a world championship in opening day just makes it that much better.
And the idea that you had an opportunity to have so much success as a player away from Fenway with Tony La Russa and so forth, 2 different stops with Tony, and you experienced things away from Boston as a player that will always be with you. But talk about Fenway. What makes this so special and so unique?
Well, everybody it's probably talked about too much. I mean, the passion that the people have here in New England, and I could attest to it because I was in California for 10 years, and we had a lot of success out there, won a world championship, but it wasn't the same. It's just not the same on a daily basis. You go down the street. If you have a bad game here, you go down and get some gas at the gas station. Everybody knows. You look at them, they know what you did. Yeah. In California, there's too many other things going on. But this is the best way. If you're going to be a good player, and that's what everybody wants to be, this is the environment that you want to do it in.
Well, let me ask you. Obviously, it should go without saying. Maybe it's the haircut, maybe it's the tan, the mustache, the good looks, if I may say so. But tell me about it, though. Like you said, you going down the street. It's not like me going down the street. Somebody doesn't look and say, I think I know this guy. You're very recognizable.
Well, that's Boston.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like this. Like I said, in California, no one could care less.
Yeah.
But you got to love it. And, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. You can't, you have to respect everybody. And I understand it here. I mean, I get it. And that's why I'm still here.
Let me ask you, obviously, trials, tribulations, not getting into it deep, but up and down, you've learned some real good life lessons that you could pass on to kids.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wasn't just all,
glamour.
Yeah, throughout my whole career. There was some downtimes. I mean, you have to persevere. I mean, it's like life. Something's going to go bad your way, and how are you going to handle it? And, my career was halfway through, didn't go very well. I mean, I found that I had an alcohol problem and found recovery, and I've been recovering ever since. So I wouldn't have had my career if I hadn't gone through that. So I've had my trials, but that just makes you who you are.
Well, I was going to say, but when you think back on that, how much of a better person you are, because now every day is so special. And do you look back now and say, guess what? Nothing's taken for granted.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, I don't know if it took that, but to know every day is precious. Because I used to save games, so every day was like I didn't even have time to enjoy because there's another day,
Right.
But I know how precious life is, and I know how precious, this game and having success in this game and what it means, because it can slip away,
How about that transition immediately when you went from being a starter and somebody says, hey, I think you could be a closer for us? Did you look at him like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't exactly take to it. Yeah. Because everybody wants to be a starter. Nobody wants to be a reliever. And it wasn't like they stuck me in the closer's role right away, shaking hands in the ninth inning. No, I had to work my way to that. But ultimately, it was a lot of good fortune. The opportunity came, I was ready, and I just walked in there, Tony La Russa, and everything else is history.
Yeah, but what about it? With everything that you went through, like you said, the hiccups along the way with the alcoholism, did you almost think somebody's just keeping me around to do some mop-up innings at first just because they like me?
Yeah, but it's a matter of accepting. And it started with the alcoholism. It's like you have to accept that. You can't live in denial. So anyway, I had to accept, being demoted to the bullpen. And if I hadn't, I wouldn't have shown that I still had something in me. And so I think that had a lot to do with it, too.
Let's talk, if we can, how special it was when you got inducted into the Hall of Fame and tears coming to your eyes and you look up and you look around and say, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, who thinks you're going to go to the Hall of Fame? Who's that cool to think you're going to get to the big leagues and I'm going to the Hall of Fame? To me, I was very, very fortunate and made the most of everything. And it's humbling, it really is. And I feel very proud to be there, but at the same time, very humbled.
I got to ask you a question. Obviously, you had that famous little, I don't know if you want to call it Rene Raincourt pump or whatever it was, but as your trademark, I mean, how much does that aggravate the batter when you strike out to end a game? Even though you don't care because you're there to do a job, but if you look back on some old ESPN classics or something, I mean, you look the same. You look like if I flip the ball to you, you look like you're still in good shape and you could go out there. I mean, did you look back sometime and say, what was I thinking? Or did you say that was your stick?
Well, first of all, it wasn't premeditated. It wasn't like, I guess what, tonight when I get the last out, I'm going to just give him the high, whatever it was. I mean, it was authentic. I mean, and because there's a lot of pressure. It's not like it's the first inning,
right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of pressure out there. And for me, it was just sort of just expressing that, and letting it out. And I'm sure a lot of players didn't like it, but I don't care.
Right.
Because I didn't like the other team. I wasn't trying to make friends out there. So, and once again, it's like, it's just you see it nowadays. It's not a big deal anymore. I think at one point maybe it was, but the game's changed, and it will keep changing.
All right, how many times have you seen Kirk Gibson and say, "I think I owe you one"?
No, I've seen him 1,000. I've seen that home run 1,000 times, and I've seen him and over. Years take the pain away. It really does. But you know something? I've always said he's manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and I'm in the Hall of Fame, so I can live with that.
There you go. I'll take that any day.
Yeah.
Before I let you sneak away, a couple of quick final questions. Who was that first bigger-than-life figure for you when you broke into Major League Baseball and you said, "Here, I'm here"? When you looked across the field or something and you said, "Wow, I'm on the same field as so-and-so." I'm talking about when you were a young kid.
Well, I never got a chance to be on the same field as Willie Mays, and then because he was my idol. But I broke in with Frank Robinson. That's not too bad. He was a manager at the time, back in '75. But I think it's just once you get there, it takes a while to think, do I belong? And you got to get over that. Oh my goodness, look at all these great players. But Frank right away was one of them. Then I came to Boston, it was Yaz.
Yeah.
So it goes on and on and on.
All right, so before I let you sneak away finally, if you could look into the camera, if you had a message, you've experienced so much in life, the ups, the downs, the highs and lows, and in the pinnacle, what kind of message could you send to youngsters out there? Because kids are so delicate in high school now, and there's so many opportunities for them to go in the opposite direction.
So I don't know. I can't be it's not time for me to be profound, but ultimately it's like, if life gets you down, get back up, more than anything else, because life is a challenge, and without it, it wouldn't be any fun.
All right, here's the fun. I don't know if the books come out yet with all your little phrases when you're announcing, but at least you're a fan favorite, and people say, "Hey, who said that? Well, do you hear what X said the other day?" Where did all those things come from?
I don't know, from a bunch of people. You look back, it wasn't like I made them all up. I mean, you pick one here and pick one there.
You must have a favorite, though, really. Come on, somebody must see you walking down the street and yell to you, "Hey!"
Oh, everybody gets tired of that cheese, but it works. It's not like I'm on every day.
Well, it certainly worked for us. This is Dennis Eckersley, better known as the Eck. He needs no introduction. Was with the Red Sox, with the Cubs, on and on, the Indians, the A's, the Cardinals, and guess what? He's in the Hall of Fame, and you know what? We've enjoyed watching your career, but I enjoyed visiting with you even more.
That's nice. Thank you very much. Good luck to you all.
Thank you. Dennis Eckersley joining us this week on the Video Sports Page.
You got it.
Let's go back to the high school ranks for a few moments. Let's talk about the Duxbury Green Dragons boys varsity baseball team. They had their game on Wednesday put on the shelf because of the poor weather. They were scheduled to take on Quincy. But to date, Duxbury has a record of 4-1 and very much in the hunt in the Patriot League. And this 4-1 record is pretty interesting as far as Duxbury is concerned. I told you about Silver Lake dominating Middleborough earlier, and they won at 9-1. Well, Duxbury lost to Middleborough 11-1 this year as their only loss of the season. But Duxbury also owns a 12-1 victory over Silver Lake. So how do you go figure? Anytime you take the field, anything can happen with high school sports. And one of those 4 victories for Duxbury happened to come against Hingham, who has an outstanding team. And Hingham is the defending Division II state champ. Final count there was the Green Dragons 12 and Hingham 5. Well, let's continue with this week's edition of the Video Sports Page by talking quickly about the softball program over at Silver Lake. They're under the direction of Tony Pina. The last 3 years, Tony served as the JV coach, but boy, he's smiling these days since he took over the reins as the varsity coach, taking over for Mike Brennan. Well, on Wednesday, Tony's team went to Middleborough and came away with a 7-0 victory. And in that ball game, Maddie Barone, the outstanding sophomore pitcher, remember I said that, sophomore pitcher, gave up just 1 hit in the game. And that brought her no-hit streak to 27 consecutive innings. She threw 4 straight no-hitters. She had a rain-shortened no-hitter against Duxbury. In the 5 innings there, she struck out 14 out of the 15 batters she faced. Maddie Barone. And in that victory against Middleborough, Maddie Barone not only led the way on the mound, she had 3 base hits herself to help lead Silver Lake to that victory.
Hey, this is Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and you know what? I live my dream every single day, and there's one other guy that has bigger dreams and is living his dreams even more than I am, and that's Carl Pratt of Cap Sports. Watch him early, watch him every day. If I don't get my Carl Pratt fix, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Okay, let's get back up to date with some of the area high school teams. Let's talk about the Carver softball team. Under the direction of Chuck Green, their record is now 3-2, following a 15-0 victory over Hull on Wednesday. Samantha Rudnick tossed a one-hitter for Carver. She struck out 8 along the way, and she chipped in with 3 base hits herself. The Plymouth North program is 4-1 on the season, following a 9-0 whitewashing of Nauset. In that game, one of the captains for the Eagles, Emily Ricardo, led the way. She had 3 base hits and knocked in 3 runs. The Duxbury boys tennis team is now 6-1 overall on the season, following a victory on Wednesday. Meanwhile, they are 5-0 in Patriot League action. It was a 5-0 victory against Quincy. In that game, Mike McClampy, Eric Seawald, and Fred Clifford all won in singles competition. In the Plymouth North tennis team, which is defending Atlantic Coast League champions and could have been 2-time champions, with the exception of 1 loss on the season 2 years ago, well, Plymouth North lost its first tennis match of the season on Wednesday, losing to a very good Nauset team, 3-2. Plymouth North is now 5-1 on the season. Well, let's take this opportunity, if we can, to show you a quick interview I had with Wyc Grousbeck. He's one of the owners of the Boston Celtics, and I caught up with him prior to the season opener for the Boston Red Sox back on opening day 2 weeks ago. Okay, let's continue with this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. We're down here at Fenway Park, of course, the home opener for the Boston Red Sox, and guess what? I got my Red Sox press pass, but inside, here's one of my Celtics press passes that fits for my current guest. Wyc Grousbeck, one of the owners of the Boston Red Sox, joining us. Celtics
Yes.
fans. There you go. I'll get that right. Huge sports fan.
Well, we all kind of own the Red Sox and the Celtics, right? Because if you grow up here and you cheer for these teams, you know, we all are part owners of it, and that's what I love about Boston sports.
Let's talk, if you can, about how the Patriots, the Celtics, the Red Sox, you guys have come together to become a family.
It's been that way. I've been in now 11 years, and the other ownership groups, including the Bruins, we actually get together. You'll see it in this ceremony today. There's some secrets I can't reveal, but it does bring the teams together, and so it's been great on and off the field, in the charity space. That's where we really do most of our work together, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Let's talk, if we can. Everybody wants to grow up to be a pro athlete. Unfortunately, we don't all have the size, the strength, the speed, etc. How about for you? Did you always want to be involved in sports like this?
Oh, I was crazy about all the teams when I grew up here. I, of course, wanted to play for them. Being an owner and being part of it, that's nice. It's the only way a guy like me can be this closely involved, and it's been a thrill.
Yeah, but obviously somebody like you, they need you for obvious reasons when they do that. Let me ask you, who is that first bigger-than-life figure for you when you first got into pro sports as an owner or whatever, to say, wow, I'm on the same court with so-and-so?
Well, I guess I actually got to meet, I got to meet Larry Bird during this process, and, becoming really an acquaintance, or I'll say acquaintance or a friend of Larry's, and then meeting Red Auerbach when we really got serious. And that's what I haven't stopped thinking about that since the day I met Red.
All right, so before I let you sneak away, what about a message for young people if they aspire to do anything, whether it's be a successful anything?
Well, set your goals high. If you just go halfway or half-baked on something, or don't aim high, you'll never get anywhere, right? Aim high and keep your ethics and your principles straight, and hopefully you'll get to where you want to go.
Well, it certainly worked, and that's the adage, if you will, of the Video Sports Page. That's why people like Wyc Grousbeck give us time, whether it's when Ray Allen was breaking the three-point record at the Garden, or here as a fan of the Red Sox and New England sports. We certainly appreciate your time.
Carl, I'm a fan of yours. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you very much for the kind words. We'll continue with more, so stay with us. Okay, welcome back, everybody. How about a quick track note as far as Silver Lake is concerned? Both the boys and girls took on Duxbury this week and won in convincing fashion, and almost by identical scores. The Silver Lake girls team won 78-58 over Duxbury. Kayla Fahey led the way as a double winner in the long jump and the triple jump. And the boys defeated Duxbury 82-54. In that game, Zach Becker was a double winner in both the shot and the discus. Well, that'll take care of this week's edition of the Video Sports Page. I've been your host, Carl Pratt. Health and wisdom from the Video Sports Page.